Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Upasana Singh and I'm back with another video. This time we have Samarth Khanna with us. He's a national winner of Flipkart 3.0, and along with this, he's a SD Internet Enchanto and also a coding instructor at Guru Shala. Hey Samarth, welcome to our channel, and can we please
Hi,
have your
Upasana.
introduction once? Yeah, hi.
Basically, I think the part that's relevant for now, you've mentioned it. I'm interested in I'm interested in software dev. I'm interested in machine learning, and I have, like you mentioned, I've been taking a few classes at Guru Shala as well. Apart from that, I think we can straight away get into the questions that you have.
Yeah, sure. So since there are three levels in grid, we will move one by one. But before that, can you give us a gist of all the rounds in short so that we can get at what Flipkart Grid exactly is?
Right. So it's pretty simple. First, you have this online assessment, which is your MCQ test, which has a lot of computer science fundamentals and some questions about Flipkart kind of trivia. And then you have after you clear that round, if you clear that round, then based on your rank and the preferences that you've given for the various problem statements that are there, this is for the software track. Then you get assigned a problem statement, and for the second round you have to make a presentation on what your idea for solving that problem is. At this point you don't have any data, but you based on what the problem statement is, you have a general idea of how you can solve that problem. Then comes the third round, which is the product presentation round. It's a recorded presentation. You have to create a prototype, and that prototype has to have documentation. It has to have hopefully a working model and a video explaining that in around 7 minutes. So that's your third round. And after that, if you make it to the top 10, 12 teams, then you go to the finale and you present. Like in our time, it was 2 different days on which we had to present. First, we had to present a 20-minute long presentation, which involved code presentation as well. And on the last and final day, which I think was available on YouTube as well, that was a presentation to the higher execs of Flipkart, and you had to present it in around 10 minutes. But people obviously exceeded. So that's basically the flow.
Okay. So that was a lot of information. Moving ahead with level one. So what the questions will be and what they need to study. This is one of the most asked question in the comment section these days. So wanted to know that how you and your team prepared for this particular round and what was all this round about, like how you prepared, what were the topics that were being asked, any resources that you can share with us for the preparation.
Right. So, like I mentioned, it's basically computer science fundamentals, your DBMS, OS, networking, other computer science related trivia, facts sometimes about who created, let's say, the World Wide Web, something like that. There's no specific way other than reading your these materials to prepare. You should be clear with these facts, and if you're actually interested in this stuff, then you'll know the inner details. These questions are not basic level. I would say they're intermediate level, and a little hint, you should have a lot of good teamwork while attempting this round. So if you get what I mean. But I think the best way would be to focus on your coursework as well, and of course read up on the basic important points of your CS fundamentals. And of course there will be numerical type questions as well. So like they'll give you this number, and okay, if this number has to be divided into a disk and then into a segment in a DBMS storage, or if in a B tree, then how much space will it take? That is one example. So like it'll have that kind of questions where you have to apply your mind, make calculations also, not just questions with facts which you can answer in like 10 seconds. It's not just that. So you should be
Can
fast as
you,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
can you give us a slight percentage that the number of questions one need to solve to get into the second round?
I think it depends on how well everybody else really does. But I think at our time, I can tell you the number of teams. So I think, judging by the number of registrations, it was around 85,000 for the round zero, which was just registration. So the teams would be around 28,000, 30,000. Out of those, I think 400 teams, as far as I remember, 400 teams were selected, the top 400 teams. So I don't exactly remember the cutoff as you're asking for what number of questions you answered, but if you answer around 23 to 25, and of course more than that, then you have a good chance if you are able to answer those many questions correctly.
Okay. Also, there was one confusion that only team leader can give this test, but he or she can share the screen and then other team members can help. So, is it true for this? What's it
No,
true for
no.
the last
Officially,
year?
you cannot do that. I don't think you can do that for this year as well. You'll have to check the rules again. It'll be pretty clearly mentioned on the rules, and of course, you can reach out to the ones like organizing the event. But I don't think it's allowed to share the screen. You cannot like it's when you give a test, you give an online round for any company, it blocks your entire screen. That's how it is for the test also. So only one person can give the test.
Okay, okay. Uh, Now, after level one, those who will get selected, they will be going for the ideation round.
Yeah.
And can you let us know the last year problem statement that you got and what was your idea that got selected there?
Right. So last year, the problem statement that we ultimately had opted for also and we got also was the Smart Bag Creator Challenge. So in the Smart Bag Creator Challenge, what we had to do was for Flipkart Grocery, we had to create a progressive web application, a PWA, which has recommendations based on order history and browser history for various users. So that's putting it very concisely. I'll be explaining more of that if you need later on. But the presentation we made for round two, since this is about that, contained two approaches. So either you can go with only one approach if you're confident enough, but there were two approaches in our submission for round two. And the good points were we had included the pros and cons, the future scope. We'd included block diagrams. We'd included the tech stack that we would use. We'd included what exactly the flow of the system is going to be. So a very comprehensive understanding of what exactly that was like what the idea was like. If anybody's interested in the deeper aspects, then one solution was based on TensorFlow recommenders, TFRS, and one solution was based on LSTM. So ultimately, we had to use TFRS because of the kind of data we got, and that worked decently well. So that's exactly how our second round submission was.
Okay. So any pointers that one should can follow for while writing the idea so that their idea can also get selected? Because many a times they have a good idea, but they write it very poorly that didn't get selected.
Okay.
So in that way.
So presentation is key. I mean, you have to have a good format. Your format has to be legible. It has to be appealing. All these things are obvious. Apart from that, what you should mention is imagine try giving it to somebody who's not familiar with the idea at all. But can that person understand flow by flow what your idea is? You've not That person has not seen the idea. It's not your team member, or it's your team member who's not worked on this presentation. So can that person understand flow by flow and construct an image in their mind that okay, this is how the product is going to flow, this is how from one step to the other. If you can mention how after you get the data, after you get a raw like for training also, and if you get a query in production, then what exactly is going to happen in your product, from what place it's going to go to what place, and what tech stack are you going to use for it, what are the pros and cons, what problems can you run into, and of course, since you don't have the data, what all angles are you able to think from? Okay, if this is the kind of data we get, this is what we're going to do. If this is the kind of data we get, this is what we're going to do. So the number of angles you can think from, the better. The more number of angles you can think from, the better.
Okay. So after the ideation round, once the ideas get selected, I guess then only you can develop the things. And in
Yeah,
terms of development, I think the team which we choose can make the game or break the game. So how
true.
important is the team members are, like how important is to choose the right team? And have you felt like during the great challenge or during the other hackathons also that yeah, if I won't have this team member, then it might have break the game?
Actually, that's a very good question. And of course, everybody realizes that having a good team is important and teamwork is important. You read that in all the corporate manifestos. But having a balanced team and having a good coordination is, of course, key. My team, like you asked, we were actually a group of three friends only, and we happened to sign up for it because we normally work together. Our projects in the college were same. Our like we used to hang out together, so we had a pretty good bonding outside of work as well. And as far as the balance of work was concerned, everybody had their own skill set. So like I was more concerned with the machine learning aspect. My friend Kushagra, he was concerned a lot with the backend aspect. He was pretty hands-on with the backend and front-end aspect. And of course, I mean, Vishnu also, he had his own skill set. So once you have a way to distribute the work, and it's not just one person, like a one-man army kind of thing. It's not just one person doing all the work, taking all the responsibility, coding the ML bit, coding the backend, coding the front end. That won't work. So if you distribute the work and you know you can coordinate well, okay, I think I'm going to need this. I'm going to need it in Django. So you don't use JavaScript, you use TensorFlow JS or something like that. So I mean, it's a very amalgamated process where you have to be very communicative with each other. Communication is very important. Like every small little thing you can communicate. So that is I think the most important thing.
Okay. So during the development round, is there any mid evaluation also, or it's direct submission only?
No, it's direct submission. When, like
Okay.
for our time at least, like there were other hackathons where we participated, where there was like there was a
Yeah.
mentor who would guide you through the process of making the product. But like over here, it was nothing like that. You had to make it on your own, and you had to submit the final documentation and video.
Okay. And will there be any fixed presentation submitting format, or teams can go for the creativity here?
No, they can use their creativity. You can use your own template. You can use your own documentation style. You can go free with it. But of course, for the video, um, like I would recommend using Google Docs and Loom, because then your face is also visible while presenting, and then you can move the slides and then do stuff like that, and then have a walkthrough of your product as well. Like how are you using your product, because it's online, right? So you're using your product, you're sharing your screen, you've recorded a video, then around that video you can have a presentation in slides. So that has to be only 7 minutes. That is the major constraint.
Okay.
Like in our time, it was 7 minutes. I don't know what Flipkart has decided this time, but that is a constraint. Apart from that, any template you can use. You can use your creativity. Rather, the more creative it is, the better.
Okay. Okay. So other than this, will they will also check that what are the GitHub comments? Like usually in hackathons, it is checked that whether the comments are previous one before the hackathons or not, or things like this.
That wasn't checked in our time. That wasn't checked in our time. But since they asked us to submit the code for the product prototype, and they asked us to, I think they asked us to present the code during the final. So I think they might have had some cross checking internally. I'm not sure how, like to what extent they went for that, but there was no checking of GitHub commits or anything like that.
Okay. So any criteria they have already given that on these criteria the teams will be judged or something like this?
Not specifically. If you're asking if there is a rubric where they say, okay, how scalable your product is, they didn't say this explicitly. These are the things you have to
Yeah, yeah.
understand, which is uh, I think a very good part of this hackathon, where it's up to you to get these things in your mind. Like it's up to you to know, okay, these are the important things. And that is what they check ultimately: how scalable it is, how fast it is, how many aspects of the solution you have measured, and of course how well you've presented, because that is going to have an impact on how well the judges have understood. So all those things are implicitly there, but nothing like that is specified. Of course, they have a requirements section where they tell you these things are requirement, these are your deliverables of sorts, and these are the things your product will need to have a functionality of. So of course those things, if you have them, you're good enough. But if you don't have them, if there is something that makes up for it, well and good. But if it doesn't make up for it, then you're in slightly not a good situation.
Okay, okay. So now coming to the final round where the actual presentation will happen. So wanted to know how you guys presented things, and was the environment scary, or was it very formal, or they were very chilled out?
So, like, it's very hard to judge an environment when you're sitting at home in front of your laptop and you're not physically there. You don't really know you're in a final. You just log onto a meet and you log off after you're done your presentation. But of course, you realize the gravity of your situation. So, one is very nervous. It is a very nervous time. Plus, we had so much to speak actually. By the end of it, we had so much stuff we wanted to talk about. Okay, we've done this, we've done that, and that is what ultimately helped us also, having so much to talk. But the time limit is very important also. Even though people exceed every time, try not to exceed. But the first presentation for the final, since the presentations are long, it is possible that the judges might get tired. So you have to be concise and you have to be effective in your presentation. And that time it's, I think, possible to share the presentation. So like one person can say one part, one person can say one part, another person can say another part. And what caught us by surprise on that day was that they asked us to show the code as well. So they asked us to show the code, and like we started explaining the code bit by bit, and they said, okay, fine, they've done it themselves. I think the main part of that is to analyze whether we've done it ourselves, or we've just copied from somewhere, or do we understand this, or can we develop on this. So that is what they want to understand. It's not like you have to explain to them line by line, okay, this is what this line is doing. So that is there. um, on the last day, which is the main event, that time you have to be very crisp. Like there's no code, and you just have to show the broad outlook of your solution, and at the same time mention, okay, this is why my solution is good. Look, I've done this also. Look, I've done this also. Look, I've done this also. I thought of this as well. I thought of that as well. And all those things you have to do in a very short span of time. So that is the biggest challenge. Apart from that, on the last day, on the first day you don't get a chance to listen to other people. On the last day you do get a chance to listen to other people. You get to listen to the questions they're asked. You get to listen to their answers to those questions. And then you can, of course, get a feel of how things are going on if you're not the first presenter, of course. But I think the nervousness will creep in, and you have to deal with it and just go on.
So any things that you can suggest for overcoming this fear of presentation?
Be sure of your product. Like know in and out what you have done. Like there should be nothing that you don't know. And practice at least 5-6 times. Have a run through of the presentation, the way you're going to present, whosoever is going to present, how many ever people are going to present. Have it 5-6 times. Have a run through 5-6 times. That is the only thing that can avoid that nervousness, because when you know what you're talking about. And that will, one thing that will also help in that is, imagine what kind of questions can be asked. Ask yourself those questions, like, okay, this they can ask, okay, this they can ask. And don't stop anywhere. Your product is meant to be used by Flipkart. Like it's meant to be used by the company. And if it has to be used by the company, try to think as a manager. Try to think as an engineering manager. Okay, if I have to incorporate this product in my website tomorrow, then what are the things I'm going to consider? What am I going to start with? How is this product effective enough or good enough to be used tomorrow? So all the questions that will come with that, try to answer those. And if you're able to think of these much beforehand, try to add features to the product that answer those questions automatically, right?
Yeah.
So having in and out understanding is important.
Yeah, of course. Like working in Flipkart, I can definitely say they ask a lot of questions and they think a lot. Like they are,
Right.
every time you say like I have thought about this, they will say, okay, then how we'll do that? Then how this will happen? How that will happen? Every time they will ask. So you have to be prepared with all the things, all the edge cases ready. So that one thing I can surely say that yeah, this happens.
Right.
Finally, wanted to know that after grid, there are hiring opportunities and as well.
Yeah.
So, do you have idea about that? Have you gone through that as well?
Yes. The everybody in the finals, every team member who reached the finals got an interview opportunity. And for our time, the schedule was such that the finale happened on 21st of December, and by 16th of January we had started getting our we had started our interviews. And there was one slot from 16th to 20th. I'm sorry, from 11th January. So one slot from 11th to 16th, and another from 17th to 20th or something like that. And the interview rounds are such that it's different in both the slots. And I was in the first slot, and they basically ask you DSA. And after the first, I think 1 or 2 rounds are DSA, and after that there's the HR round, and after that, if all goes well, you're selected. So that is basically the structure of the interview round. All you need to know for the interview rounds, the DSA rounds is DSA, and for the HR round is whatever projects you've done. You need to know that in and out. And of course, if it's your day, if you're doing well, then if you're comfortable with DSA and you know your work in and out, and if you're a confident person, of course you'll get hired.
In there also, like in the rounds also, just tell them whatever you know and show them yes, you are knowledgeable and you know that you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
mugged
yeah,
up. You know that you know how to solve the essay questions, and that what will
yeah.
matter at the end of the day.
Right.
So from my side, I only have these much questions. Any
Right.
golden tip you want to give to all the participants this year so that they can become a next national winner?
I think the thing we did differently was two couple of things I would say. One was thinking from the angles of an engineering manager. What any single thing that can come to the mind of an engineering manager, whatever question can come, we try to do that in our product to answer that question implicitly. And if asked that why is this not implemented, then we have an answer for it. So have an answer for everything, and know your product in and out, and practice a lot. And there's no if you want to, like, whenever people become the winners of something, more or less you will see that they've gone overkill, or they've gone overboard, or they've just lost themselves in it. So if you lose yourself in this, if you see, and if you're like, if you drink a cup of coffee and you like seeing ideas bursting in your head here and there, okay, we can do this, we can do this, we can do that, then I think you'll be aware that we're a contender for national winner. So that is something that's there. You have to work really hard for it, like really hard, because honestly there were very good solutions there. There were very good solutions in that, and maybe if they had presented better, they could have got a better result as well. But ultimately it boils down to how well on that day. Of course it matters to get to the final, how well you have made your product, how well the documentation is made. But on that day what matters is how well the judges have understood your product. Otherwise you may have made the best product, but it won't get to them, and it won't be seen as the product made by the national winners. I mean, Flipkart has their prestige also to keep. Who's our national winner? These people, right? So that kind of stuff. So if you have that kind of understanding of your product, and if you work that hard, then of course the prize is yours to take.
Okay, so that was really a good advice. And so I have that much only, and I guess we have covered a lot about Flipkart Grid, and this must have solved a lot of questions that they were having, all the participants which were having. And I would just like to thank Samarth for giving your time and guiding us so well. So thank you so much for coming here and giving your precious time. And
Thank
with
you for
that,
having me.
with that we'll end the video here, and I hope you like this video. You must like this video, and if you like this video, then do like and subscribe to our channel as well. If you have any queries left, then do ask in the comment section below, and you can also connect with us on LinkedIn and you can ask their queries also. So that's it. We'll keep on bringing more such videos, more such talented people on our channel, and so stay tuned with us. Thank you.